Hey, what's up, guys? My name is James Foreman, and I am currently hiking out of Havasu in Havasu Falls. Absolutely incredible experience. Really, I can only describe it in 2 words, and that is magical, and it is worth it. Every single thing is worth it. I would assume if you're watching this video, you are probably already planning on going to Havasu and absolutely do it. I'm making this video hopefully to give some advice and guidance and hopefully make your trip even better. I was fortunate enough to have somebody that was super prepared and did a lot of research, and then I did a lot of research of my own. And so we felt pretty great about this trip. There's probably some things we do differently, and some things we thought we did great. So ultimately, I'm hiking up. It's going to take a long time, I'm sure, and it is I'm gonna probably have plenty of breaks, so I'm gonna make a pretty long video here and just kind of keep making different legs of it as I go through the day. So first off, itinerary. Day one, or I'm gonna actually say day zero. Day zero is when you need to check in. So I would 100% advise you to check in the night before you can hike out. So for us, our hike in day was Tuesday. So we all arrived in Vegas. I'm sure you can arrive in Phoenix. They're about the same distance, but we arrived the night before and or the afternoon before, and then checked in at 5 and stayed at the lodge. I'll go over a little bit more of the sleeping things and planning and all of that. Some of these times are going to sound crazy at first, especially if you're a new hiker. I'm a pretty new hiker. I have really not done that much. I mean, this was by far the craziest thing I've ever done. But we were absolutely trying to go to bed by about 8 p.m. In the lodge. And then we'd already checked in about 5, and then got some food. And then we were trying to go to sleep at 8. We had our stuff pretty much all packed. Just keep in mind that your water bladder generally has to go in your bag first, so you can't really pack at night. But again, I'll go more over packing and stuff later. But we woke up at 2:30, and then we had an hour and a half drive to the trailhead. And we actually got on the trail day one at 4:45. Surprisingly, it's somewhat light outside. Like you can actually see the canyons when you're at the trailhead, which I was just blown away by. I didn't realize it was going to get that light. After that, I would say it probably took us 6 full hours to get all the way to our campsite. Again, I'll have a whole video of just talking about the trek in and all the stuff. But we did that. We got to camp. We set up camp, and then we went and got our water from the water springs, and then we were pretty set. And then we went to Havasu Fall that night, which is just about 150-foot incline up. So a little bit of work after the first day in, but we went and spent probably an hour and a half, 2 hours there, and that's probably the easiest fall to get to the bottom of and actually get to enjoy, and it's super pretty. So that first day we did Havasu, and then we came back, and guys, we were in bed by 7:30 p.m. Not only because we were tired, but because of the next day. So we came back, ate dinner, and then we were in bed by 7:30 and probably all asleep by 8. The next morning, and I'll go over this later, but we were going to switch campsites. So we woke up at 4:30. It took us about an hour to switch our campsite, which is kind of in the dark, kind of not. By the end of it, we weren't in the dark at all. But we switched our campsite, and then we were leaving our camp at 5:55. And for day 2, we did the confluence. So we passed Mooney, we passed Beaver, and we made it all the way to the confluence, and hung out there for about an hour. I'll have a whole video about just that experience. And then we got back. We did not really get to experience Beaver to its fullest, just because it was a full day, but we felt very content. And I'll kind of go into detail about that experience later as well. We did get to experience Mooney for about 10 or 15 minutes at the end, and we made it back to camp that night at like 7:25 or something. So it ended up being a 13 and a half hour days. That was the best meal of my life. After that, I also had a Snickers that night. It was also the best Snickers of my life. And we slept like babies and slept for about 9 or 10 hours. The next day was our rest day. We hiked up to town. Our legs were exhausted. We all woke up like freaking C-3PO walking around. We walked into town. And had food. We did postcards, watched the helicopter, and spent some time in some air conditioning, all of that. And then we came back and we experienced 50-foot falls, which is beautiful, and then a little Navajo, and then got back and had a good 2-hour night at camp where we got to kind of cool down and start pre-packing and all of that. And then this is day 4, the last day. We woke up at 3:30 this morning, and thought we were going to be on the trail at 4, but it took us an hour and 15 minutes to pack down, break down camp and get on the trail. So we started packing out at 4:45, or we started leaving out at 4:45, and I would say our goal is 6 hours. So, that's 10:45 getting out of there. But if we are better than that, awesome. If we're a little bit slower than that, that's fine too. We are beat, and there's going to be some heat today. But anyway, that's my general itinerary. If you don't want to do the confluence, I think that because that's the longest, most challenging part of this trip in my experience. But if you don't want to do the confluence, you can do the exact same itinerary and just go to Beaver and then Mooney. And by doing that on day 2, you'll get to actually experience those a lot more than we did, because we were pretty much in and out on those. There are 5 main waterfalls here. We experienced 4 of them. The 5th one is Little Navajo, which seems pretty difficult to get to and is probably the least impressive out of all of the group. There are some cliffs there that you can jump off, so that's cool. But nonetheless, that's what most of this is all about. And the next video will be about gear and setting up. Okay guys, it has been about another mile since the last video. I realized I missed some things here. I am a 37-year-old male from Oklahoma City. I'm 5'8". I weigh 235 pounds. So I'm a good 60 pounds overweight or so. I am hiking this in 2024. I think we're June 4th through 8th or something like that. So I realize that all the things that I described are not going to be perfect, the same weather conditions throughout the seasons or throughout the year, and also there are probably some things that I did based off of my size and things that I prefer that don't work for everybody. But just wanted to kind of give you some guidance and some things that I saw work for me and also others. So let's talk about gear. Number 1, shoes. Probably the most important thing that you're going to get. Take your time picking your shoes. I would say comfort and stability are the 2 most important things. I've got pretty weak ankles, and my ankles, I've sprained them both a lot during my life as an athlete, so they tend to roll quite easy. I've rolled it several times, rolled both of them several times during this trip, and 2 just significant times, but fortunately I have these boots on that have high ankle support, so that definitely helped me. I also take my socks and roll them over, and then tighten it up so it really tightens that area. It doesn't work as good as an ankle brace, but it definitely has prevented a weekend or a weekending injury. So shoes, most important things, your hiking boots that you're going to hike in and out with. Comfort, I would absolutely get a rock plate. If you're an experienced hiker, I feel like you can probably do this whole weekend in just normal shoes, as long as they've got some grips. Not saying that for everybody. I'm glad that I wore these just for the stability of it, but you could definitely do these in lighter shoes if you wanted to, but nonetheless, hiking boots, make sure that comfort's number 1. Number 2, hike in them before this trip. You know, I've had plenty of hikes. I had several, we'll go over, you know, training later, but I had several, you know, 8 and 9 hour days in these shoes that I definitely broke them in. Second pair of shoes, your shoes that you're going to wear hiking and throughout the waterfalls and stuff. I went Keens with wool socks. I didn't get the water Keens because they didn't seem quite as stable, and I wanted something a little thicker and more comfort. But the normal Keens, like whatever the main, you know, one is, I can't think of what it's called. But I wore those with wool socks. Y'all, I've made it this entire weekend. Knock on wood, there's no wood around here, there's just rocks. Made it this whole weekend without blisters, probably because I hiked in and because I wear wool socks with my sandals the whole time. And I was just in and out of the water with those the whole weekend, and those are great. I did bring a third pair of, you know, just super light, you know, basic flip-flops just around camp. Because you're gonna want to be out of your shoes, and it is super dirt, like it's like sandy just everywhere here. So you're gonna probably want some flip-flops around camp and stuff, or if you want to go barefoot, you can. But you know, not everybody is that tough barefoot wise. So shoes, number one. Number two, most important thing, backpack. Comfort, 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 comfort. As number one. You know, fortunately I went to REI and this was the first backpack they recommended for me. I still, just being the like researcher and person of due diligence that I am, still tried on I think another 4 or 5 packs. They put, you know, weight in it. Like I had them put 20-25 pounds of weight in it, and try, you know, different packs on, and they teach you how to do it and everything. But comfort is just number one. You know, surprisingly, I thought that I might like need like more support here, but even those like pads, you know, like this is less padded ones, and there's ones that have more pads all the way around. Like for me, that just didn't, like it didn't provide me more support. It felt like the pad was just there, like add an extra weight. I mean, I guess it's just foam, but we'll talk about this later. But ounces are everything. Ounces add up. So backpack, you know, don't overdo it. I mean, mine is a super lightweight and it's a 48 liter. And I was just fine. I probably could have packed a little bit more in this weekend. As far as pockets go, doesn't really matter. I mean, mine only has 4 pockets. I could do with less. You're really gonna put most of your stuff all down in your backpack. And then, you know, you also have the pockets of your shorts too. Here's one of my group buddies right here, Ozzy.
Let's
kicking
go.
butt. And then the last person in our group will be here shortly as well. So backpack, comfort number one. Make sure you've got enough liters. We'll go over kind of how to pack it and stuff later, but I think as far as the gear goes, I think comfort and making sure it handles. For here, you only need like a 50 liter ish. You're just fine with that for this type of hike, or 3-day adventure. All right, number 3, we're gonna go over tent, and then I'm gonna get moving, and then I'll go into more gear. Tent. First off, I wish I had done a hammock, but I just wanted to make sure I got good rest. So I felt like doing a tent and a sleeping pad and you know, a pillow and a sleeping bag was better. But it's fucking freaking, I'm gonna try not to cuss on this video, but no guarantees. It's freaking hot down here. Like it's insane. I mean, we were going to sleep and it was like still 86, 87 degrees. My tent, I went a pretty ultralight. I went a 2-man tent just for me, just the 1-man tents. Everyone said they were just so small, and the 2-man tents didn't weigh that much more. I was really focused on weight. What I regret is I got a tent that, like the sides of it are solid, not mesh. So the mesh is only on the end. I needed some airflow. So I really wish I would have got a tent with more airflow. To save weight, I did a tent with trekking poles. So my tent doesn't actually even have stakes. It uses 2 trekking poles to keep it up. I thought it made complete sense. And I'm going to talk trekking poles a little bit. Some of you won't use them, but for me, I was like, well, I'm taking trekking poles. If I'm taking trekking poles, then why do I need to also take stakes and just add extra weight to my bag? So I wish that if I did a tent again, I would have got a tent that had more airflow in it. Fortunately, we were down here when there was no rain, so I wasn't worried about that. But it was hot until probably, you know, 1 or 2 in the morning. It cooled down enough. But I mean, I was going to bed in nothing but boxers. and I was sweating. So tent, I really went, really focused on weight and size. So I would definitely do a lot of research on the weight of your tent. You know, as personally, and we're going to talk about this more, my gear I really focused on being as light as possible for this hike, and I don't regret that at all. My two friends that are on the group, I ended up being 26 pounds in. I'm probably 23 pounds out. They both are 40-pound packs, and maybe I can tell that it's a lot more challenging than what I'm experiencing. So that's all I got. Now, after this, I'm going to go into some more gear. All right, sun came up. Had to get some sunscreen, some shade. All right, so next thing on gear is kind of the rest of your sleep system. So sleeping pad, I didn't really do tons of research. I just borrowed something from my uncle that was decently lightweight. I don't really know that much about sleeping pads, but I will tell you this, I had about 3 options, and this one seemed to be the most compact. So I slept on it for a night out in my tent in the backyard. I'll kind of go over that a little bit later. Or I'll go over that now. Like, all of my stuff that I did, like my tent, my sleeping bag, my sleeping pad and all that, I did sleep in my backyard overnight, just to kind of make sure, pillow, is this going to be comfortable? Is this going to work for me? Because if not, and I tried 2 different pillows, and if that sleeping pad didn't work, I was going to try probably a heavier one. But sleeping pad, you know, I just got kind of one that folds up into a ball about the size of a toilet paper roll, maybe a little bit bigger. Maybe half of a paper towel. That's probably a better example. Sleeping bag. Okay, so this one, again, I'm here in the beginning of June. I could have been just fine without a sheet. I mean, or with a sheet, then that's it. I mean, it got a little cool in the end of the night, in the middle of the night at midnight, 1, 2, 3-ish, where I wanted a blanket, and I pulled my sleeping bag on me a little bit. But the sleeping bag I got like a 37 or 38 degree, like the hottest one they had, as far as it's not made for freezing temperatures. That was not needed for this trip at all. So don't feel like you have to go sleeping bag. But again, that's just for this time of the year. As far as a pillow goes, I had 2 options. I looked at one that was like more of a dowel pillow, and you could compress it and then you can unfold it. That one was really comfortable. But I ended up going with a blow-up pillow, just number one, because it's a little bit more compact in my pack, but also because it was customizable. Like, I could have more support. Like, I needed a kind of a bigger pillow, and I really liked it. It was so easy to, it folded up to about this big, and it was so easy to just in the middle of the night, deflate just a little bit more if I needed to. It kept air. It was great. I think that covers everything as far as a sleep system goes. I guess the last thing I'll go over is clothes. I read this a lot. I mean, I think we all think 4-day vacation, we're going to be sweating a lot, blah, 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 4 pairs of clothes. You don't need it. I brought a total of 1 pair of shorts, 2 shirts, a swimsuit, and 2 boxers. And day 1, I wore my boxers, shorts, and a dry fit shirt. Definitely go dry fit. Don't do like a cotton t-shirt or anything like that. Get something that is going to be moisture wicking and lightweight. Like, this is a Patagonia shirt. I've never worn a Patagonia shirt before. It's so light. It feels amazing. So the dry fit stuff is worth it. And then when I got to camp, I stayed in it. But then when we went to the waterfall that night, I switched into a bathing suit, and then I was in a bathing suit for the next 2 days straight. I switched shirts, and I wore the same shirt. So I really wore the same thing for day 2 and day 3. And then, I'd sleep in boxers at night or something just to be fresh. And then the last day, I went back to this shirt that I wore the first day. Yeah, kind of gross, whatever, you can tell me that, but ounces add up. I think each one of these shirts weighs somewhere a third of a pound or something. So 2 shirts, that's another half a pound, and that just adds up. So, yeah, that's everything I got on sleep system and clothing. I think I already covered this with shoes, but I just brought 2 pairs of socks, a long pair of socks for these boots, a little bit longer, like shin height, and then a ankle height cutoff sock for my teens, and on both socks, I got ones with a lot of cushion in them. You would think wool socks would be really, really hot, but they're moisture wicking. I haven't struggled with them at all. All right, got a hat on now because it got sunny, but I did just find shade, so that's why I'm chilling here. Let's see. Important on all the stuff that I've talked about. Don't cheap out on your backpack. Don't cheap out on your boots. In my opinion, those two things you make good. We're about to talk trekking poles. Same thing. I wouldn't cheap out on them. I don't think you have to be top of the line, but we're about to really dig into trekking poles here, and I think they're important. I think there's some things that you can cheap out on. I mean, like my mattress probably wasn't, top of the line. My pillow was probably not top of the line, but still good. My sleeping bag. The sleeping bag was pretty legit, honestly. But again, I don't think you need it for that. Trekking poles. I would highly advise you. Here's my third person in the group right here using her trekking poles. Guys, your legs are going to get ridiculously tired. I think at the end of this, we're going to be somewhere between 45 and 50 miles that we did over these 4 days. A lot of elevation changes. You're going to want to use trekking poles. Sure, I never would have thought I was that person. I'd look at them and be like, dork. I'm not going to be that. But they are so helpful in so many ways. So, number one, downhill. It's massive. You got to use them a little bit different. And I would watch a video on YouTube, but like when you're using them downhill, you're almost going to like grip them like a cane, and they're going to be in front of you. But guys, they save your knees so much. Somebody in my group, the day we did the confluence, was moving a lot faster than us, and he was like going down steps and stuff way quicker, and like now his knees wrecked, and the rest of his trip has been pretty tough. Where the other two people in the group, me and Brandy, definitely were moving quite a bit slower and taking it slow. Taking those, blunts not as big on our knees. So trekking poles definitely, declines are going to be great. For inclines, pushing up is going to be huge. And then for flat ground, you can actually move. I don't know if you've ever seen somebody, move really fast with trekking poles, but it's massive how you can just pick up your speed. I mean, I would assume my normal walking pace is like 3.3 miles an hour. I bet you when I have trekking poles, it's more like 4, and that makes up a lot over this time. There's some hikers coming in right now. Trekking poles, wouldn't cheap out on them. Use them before, work some inclines and some declines on them before, so you know how to use them, know how to adjust them. But yeah, check out a video on YouTube, and that'll kind of help you out with that. How's it going, guys?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing great. You guys are doing great. This is the youngest one I've seen so far. You're doing awesome, dude. Have fun, guys.
Thank you.
That's kind of another really fun part of the trail. You're just constantly passing people, and dude, you're all in it together. It's a rare thing. As many people down here at a time are like 400 or 500 a day, so that's really probably 1,500 people max down here. So you'll see a lot of people. Dude, talk to them. Have a good time. You're all experiencing it together. Trekking poles, just train with them. I think it's huge. I bought some black diamond ones. I spent like maybe 90 on them at the academy. Learn how to adjust them. Go hike some elevations in them. Go hike some declines in them, and just get comfortable using the wrist straps and adjusting the heights and all of that. I would highly recommend trekking poles. All right, next up, let's talk about the rest of your gear. And then I'm going to go into toiletries, and then I'm going to talk about weight of the whole thing. So as far as the next part of your gear, your phone. Obviously, you're going to bring your phone. You're going to need it to be charged. I would definitely say keep it on airplane mode most of the trip. There are places down here that have... how's it going, guys?
Hey, how you
doing? Doing good. There are places here that have a signal. But keep it on airplane mode. You won't really need that much. I feel like almost everybody's like, get a 2000 mAh charger, and they just get it. Dude, that's so much, and it's so much weight. So what I ended up going with is a 10,000 mAh that weighs just about a half a pound. And I also got one that has a plug outlet attached to it, as well as a lightning cable and a USB-C. So I had everything, and it's all in one. It's just half a pound, so I didn't have to bring any cords with me. It's compact, it's lighter. I know half a pound, 3/4 of a pound, that's not that much, but I've been just fine, and I've taken so many videos. I've listened to music so much during this. I definitely have used my cell phone service while I was here in parts that have service as well. And I think I maybe used barely half of my charging cell. So you're just fine there. Apple Watch, I don't recommend it. Don't do it. It's going to die. And you're just going to need more stuff to charge for it. You'll be okay without your watch. Take it off your wrist, be a little bit more free. You're going to sweat a lot. Let's see, phone, hat, sunglasses. Okay, so hat, never would have thought I would have been one of these people, but I definitely got one of these hats. I would always say, wow, that's a dorky look, but this is awesome. It's got a split bill, meaning I can pop it up, which definitely comes in useful. Oh, this is going to be a cool one. So while you're going down the trail, you'll also see horses come by that have got, how's it going? That have got packs, mail, Amazon Prime, all kinds of stuff on them. So you will have to get out of the way of the trail. We'll kind of talk about that on the journey later, though. Sunglasses, get a good pair of sunglasses that you like, that fit you well, that you can handle when they sweat. I went and got like basically some running sunglasses, and did great. I didn't get polarized lenses, just I like these ones and they were cheaper. I didn't really need them for this weekend. I didn't use my sunglasses a lot of times because like I wanted to see everything with my own eyes and not see the glare of the sunglasses, but make sure you get that. How's it going, guys? Yep, you're doing good. Like 4.5, 5 miles to the middle of town. Yeah. Yeah. Gear. So I didn't personally have to bring this. My group did, but most of our meals were freeze dried. And again, we're going to go over food later, but you'll need a stove. So these stoves are tiny. They're like this big, and they plug on top of this. I don't know if it's propane or kerosene or what it is, but you buy these little packets, and you'll easily, like, we barely used it, maybe half of it the whole 4 days we were here. Utensils, you know, I brought 2 plastic forks. I really probably could have, you know, just in case one broke, I could have got by with one. My friends brought metal small utensils that kind of folded up. Is that everything as far as gear goes? Sleeping. I really think that is. So the next thing I'm going to go into is toiletries. Okay, so next thing we're talking about here is toiletries. By the way, I got a sweet spot right here. It's so sunny out there, but got some good shade. And I can also see the trailhead. It's really far away, and I know we got to go through some canyons to get there, but that was definitely nice to be able to see that. Inspirational. Okay, toiletries. So first off, toothbrush, toothpaste. You don't need them. Get a wisp. So they're little, these like toothpick things that are like a flosser thing, or not flosser, but like a toothpick on one side, and then a toothbrush with a gel of toothpaste in the side of it. You need 4 of them. I got 5, you know, or actually you really only need 3 of them, because day 1, when you hike in, you can brush your teeth with your normal toiletry stuff. But get wisp. That saves you weight and space of a toothbrush and toothpaste and a toothbrush holder. And all that. You guys want to see True Love right here? So I'm waiting here with Ozzy's pack. Ozzy has been ahead of the pack, and he was probably here about 10 minutes before I was. We sat and talked for about 4 or 5 minutes, and then he just went all the way back to go see his wife and find her, and just make sure she's doing okay. And now she's kicking butt coming up the canyon. She's probably gonna want a good break. Deodorant. Get the smallest travel size you can. I like my deodorant. I've used the same kind for like freaking 20 something years, maybe more than that. I'm an Old Spice, like pure sport person. It's like a gel. They didn't have it in travel size. I got like a close one. It works just fine. You're only going to use it for a little bit. Get size, save weight. I brought a little nail clipper and didn't use it, but I always have issues on like hiking and experiences where I here, grab this one. I'm good. Okay. I always have experiences where I freaking have a nail when I'm on vacation. I don't have anything, so I took a small thing of nail clippers just in case something like that happened. I took some Q-tips. I took like 5 just in case I needed to dig something out somewhere. Water got in my ears or something like that. I took a couple Band-Aids. I took some Neosporin. And then luxury item. I didn't really take that many luxury items. I wish I would have brought a fan. That would have been a luxury item I would have brought. But I'm a ginger, so I definitely need sunscreen. So I did not cheap out on that. I brought a whole 6-ounce bottle of spray, and then I brought like nice Neutrogena sunscreen for like my face and all of that. I did not cheap out on space for that. I mean, I did get smaller sizes, but still I didn't really do things. I brought Gold Bond just for chafing, and I was really proactive about that. I tried to do it before there was a problem and then kept it. I had a 4-ounce bottle. I thought it was too much, and I actually poured out like 2 ounces of it. Sounds a little psycho, but every ounce matters. I think that's everything in toiletries. Couple important things I forgot about gear. Water bladder, extremely important. I got a 2.5 liter just to conserve a little bit of weight, because I also knew I was going to carry, maybe a liter or a little bit less than a liter in a water bottle as well for electrolytes and all of that. Water bladder, you'll just get one that fits your type of backpack, or you can kind of make do with whatever. But I've never used one of these before, and it was huge. It's just like a Camelback basically, but it just fits inside your backpack. I got a 2.5 liter. I've got 1.5 to 2 miles left, and I'm about to go up the switchbacks, and I think I just ran out of water coming back. So I don't know if I drank too aggressively coming back up or not. I haven't really been that thirsty. I think I've just taken advantage of it and taken longer sips, because the way down I barely used that. But you might want to go with 3 liter just to be safe. I didn't use anywhere close to that coming in. AirPods, I don't think I talked about that. Absolutely, AirPods, headphones, get something. I'm all about listening to nature and experiencing, the silence and all of that and the sounds. And that's great. And you need to do that throughout the trip. But, when you're doing these long hikes, especially in and out, man, music just helps so much, and you just get in your jam. It kind of sucks because you can't necessarily hear the people around you. You can't hear the horses coming, which is kind of a bad thing. Headphones, absolutely would highly recommend them. What was the other thing about? Oh, and then a water bottle. Bring I brought a 20-ounce water bottle. I think it was better. My friends brought a liter water bottle, so they were pretty heavy every time they had those full. I think 20 ounces is pretty good. It's better than 17. But you can kind of go wherever you want in there. Water filter. So especially if you're going to go to the confluence, you need a water filter. There's 2 types. There's ones that you can hook just right on your water bottle, and you can actually suck out of straight out of the river as well. Ours didn't work amazing, so definitely get those and test them out. The other thing we had though was a water filter that also had this bag that we could fill up the bag, like 500 milliliters, and then squeeze the water through the filter and put that back into our bladders. If you're doing the confluence, or even, if you're doing the confluence, you absolutely need a water filter, because you just don't need to take that much water with you. Don't take that extra weight, and there's so much water that you can just filter on your breaks that you're already going to take. All right, next thing we're going to go over is food. So for me, I was pretty worried about this because I'm a very, very picky eater. But it ended up working out great. One of the biggest things of substance, like your main meals, like for me, dinner, for most people, breakfast and dinner, are freeze-dried foods. Because you're on the campground, and it's the easiest thing. It's lightweight because it has all the water out of it, which makes it so much lighter. The meals are not great for me. I only found one that I liked. I really like chicken fried rice. It's funny how at home it was like, okay, after the confluence, it was literally the best meal of my life. It was so good. It's crazy how it puts in perspective how anything tastes good when you were that exhausted and that tired. So for me, I just did 2 freeze-dried foods, and I'll talk about the cafe separately here in a bit. I ate at the cafe twice, and then freeze-dried foods 2 times as well. So those were big meals. My other big like protein and meal was beef jerky. I found a kind that I liked. And you know, I would use that for a whole lunch one time, and then a whole dinner one time. Clearly a lot of protein, lightweight, easy to store. I brought protein bars, and I ate one of those every morning. I brought one extra, and I did end up eating it that day after the confluence. I brought peanut butter crackers. I knew that peanut butter would probably be good, and the crackers for carbs. I also last minute realized I was so focused on protein that I wasn't getting enough carbs for these long hike days. So I actually just packed tortillas. A lot of people do like tortilla and like peanut butter, or tortilla and, you know, tuna or something like that. You know, I'm a picky eater, but the tortillas were enough for me just to cram some carbs in midday hike. Like I just ate my tortillas probably 30 or 45 minutes ago. Let's see, is that everything? And then I brought my other luxury items were, I had a waffle cookie, a Snickers, and a Starburst. And I had 3 different desserts for the end of the night as a reward for whatever we accomplished. My Snickers actually completely melted. My friend's gummy bears completely melted, but we did some things and got them in cool areas, and they became eatable, and it was the best Snickers I've ever eaten in my life. Last thing as far as food goes, this is important, electrolytes. I've never really used electrolytes before, and I did my research and all that. You know, gosh, it came in so handy on long hike days. I knew I needed them. I knew my body needed them. Oh yeah, I've got some dogs here, by the way, that are the dogs that go with the horses, and they've just stopped in the shade and hung out with me for a little bit. Cow dogs. Anyway, electrolytes, did a lot of research on it. I ended up, my favorite one was Water Boy, and the second one I'm using is Drip Drop. I've heard such bad things about the number one on the market. What is that? Whatever it's Hydra something, I don't know, has so much sugar in it, and sugar is dehydrating you. So it's working against you. So definitely look for electrolytes that don't have sugars in them, and then have you're looking for sodium, potassium, chloride. Like when you get hooked up to an IV, I believe it's sodium and chloride. So liquid IV, that's the kind. Don't get liquid IV. That's my opinion. But you're looking for high sodium, high chloride, potassium, calcium, and magnesium. Those are the 5 things that you're really looking for. Didn't really care about the calories, but since you're sugar-free, it's probably going to be low calories. But man, I'm about to take this last one right now, and I ran out of water, so I'm actually just gonna drink the powder. But electrolytes, super important. All right, it is 9:40. I am almost to the switchbacks. I'm probably another mile, maybe half mile from them, and the sun is beating down. So we're gonna talk about times later, experience-wise, but for sure, leave early to beat the sun, because it's always hard, but it's especially hard on the difficult parts, like the switchbacks. Okay, let's talk about weight. So this is something that I really geeked out to. I was just so focused. Everyone says 30 pounds, 30 pounds, 30 pounds. My goal was to get as close to 25 pounds as possible. I ended up being 26. In hindsight, there's probably some things that I could have lost to make it 25, and I would have felt just fine with it. But 26, and that was with 2 liters of water, 20 ounces of water, all my food, all my gear, including my backpack, was 26. That did not include my headlamp. Oh, I need to talk headlamp. I didn't talk about that earlier. Don't cheap out on a headlamp. Get one that's cool, that's multifunctional, that you can adjust the lighting. Nice if you can get red lighting, just so it's not bugging everybody else at camp. If you can get one that has a spotlight and a fog light, is that what it's called? I don't know. The one that's wider. If you can get one of those that has all 3 of those lights, you know, I paid like $60 for mine. It works great. It was very nice. We used it a lot less than I thought. Doing this again, I would hike in even earlier, and then I would honestly hike out even earlier too. So we would be in the dark, but I thought we were going to be in the dark. If we were hiking at 4 in the morning, I thought we were going to be in the dark for, 2 or 3 hours, but that was not the case at all. I mean, it is light out here at 4, up top at 4:35-ish, and down at bottom in the canyon it's light by about 4:50-ish. So nonetheless, weight 16 ounces is a pound. So each one of my proteins bars was like 2 ounces. When I made like servings of food, the nuts that I brought were 2 ounces. The jerky that I brought were 2 ounces. Like everything I divided up in Ziploc baggies, and I made it 2 ounces. I really strategized on my days, and I actually wrote out a meal plan for every day. I gave myself an extra protein bar, I think maybe 2 extra sets of nuts, and 1 extra set of crackers. At the end of the day, I'm going to end up not eating 1 of the sets of nuts and 1 of the sets of crackers, but I ate everything else. But I was very meticulous about bringing only the food that I needed. I brought 2 of the freeze-dried chicken and rice things. And on those, I don't want to forget, get some seasoning. I made a concoction that was salt, pepper, garlic, and cayenne pepper to pour in it. And I poured in it, stirred it, poured in it, stirred it, poured in it, stirred it, let it heat up more. And then as I ate it, I did too. And that just overall kind of made it not taste quite as bland and watery. And that made that a lot better. Every single thing, my tent, I measured every single thing, and every ounce adds up. Just be aware of that. Oh, check this out. This is a helicopter. I don't know if you can see that there. Yeah, there you go. Helicopter coming in and out for the bougie people. If you're a bougie person, sorry. That's nice, but I think doing the trek in and doing the trek out is just makes the experience that much better. Although it would be cool to be in the helicopter and see all the canyons. But you know what? Go freaking do a Grand Canyon tour out of Vegas when you do that. Don't do this trip in a helicopter. That's my opinion. You can do it if you want to. Weight. I did not include my trekking poles because I wasn't going to take them. I didn't include my hat or my sunglasses because those were on my face. Although I guess I should have weighed those because those ended up being in there. Another important thing I wanted to talk about gear-wise. I brought a gallon jug, it folds up into this, and that was nice for the spring to be able to walk back and forth and fill up a 5-gallon jug of water, and then have that at our campsite. But that was included in my 26 pounds. But really, I just cut a lot of weight. I got the smallest of so many things I could. I didn't really bring luxury items. Guys, you're camping. Part of the experience is not having those things. I honestly was mad at myself for getting on Facebook and, texting a person or two while I was up there. I mean, I was happy that I texted my mom and told her that I was okay. Yeah. She was asking if I'm okay because I'm out of water, dumbass. That's me, dumbass. Nonetheless, weight, think about it a lot, cut ounces, you just keep adding ounces here and adding luxury there and there. And, it's a pound, another pound, another pound, another pound. And you will hate yourself when you feel how heavy that freaking backpack is hiking in and out. So, do your research, know your weights. I use a food scale on all my gear and all my food and everything. And so I kind of calculated it, and then I put everything in the backpack and actually weighed it on my body and then subtracted my body weight from that to get the 26 pounds. And, honestly, I probably could have cut some things out. I would assume most people can cut a lot of things out. So, feel free to do that. Be meticulous, though. you really don't need to be taking in much more than 30 pounds. People that are taking, 40 pounds, 35, 40 and more, that's just crazy. So find a way to make it as light as you can. Okay, next thing to talk to is about training. And I could not pick a better time to talk about training because I've got about a mile left. I don't know if you can see. You can look, let's see, it's that mountain, yeah. The very top of that, there's little bitty people up there. That's where we've got to hike to. I can tell you I'm dead. So over our whole trip here, we did somewhere between 40 and 50 miles, maybe more than 50, I don't know. Elevation, too much to count. I mean, the elevation out from the campground is 2,300 feet. But keep in mind, it actually ends up being more than that because there's parts where you go down and then you have to climb back up and then down. So you gain elevation, then lose elevation again. When we're going to Confluence, and that'll be a whole separate conversation, but the amount of elevation change during that is crazy. I mean, it's following the river, but it's just up, down, over and over again. Super crazy. Training. I guess my biggest thing that I can say is freaking do it and prepare. I had all these plans to, train early. I got a good amount of training, and I got incline work. I was running, miles. I was doing Orange Theory and lifting weights and stuff. But at the end of the day, really the biggest training that I really need to do is inclines and actually declines. If you can, declines with your trekking poles if you're going to use them, just so you can practice, on how to do it. And then also inclines, practicing with your trekking poles and how to use them. But I would say definitely, some more horses. Walking inclines is probably the most important thing. Walking in your neighborhood with your full gear on is huge. Walking with your boots on and socks on. One day I had to drop my car off at Firestone, which was 3 miles from my house, and I took my boots and backpack, and I had 20 pounds in my backpack, and walked that in the sun just to experience that whole thing with my boots. And then after that, I actually left my boots on for a lot that day. I think at the end of the day, I had my boots on for 8-10 hours. So just to get used to getting comfortable in those. I would say like 5 days before the trip, I went and hiked a mountain that was 2.8 miles up, 2.8 miles down. And had 1,000-foot elevation. So it was about a 7% grade the whole time. And I did that in full gear and with my trekking poles and everything. And I thought that gave me a good, indication. I wish I would have done that more. Really, I think the biggest thing is just getting on your, I wish I would have done some Stairmaster stuff too. I think that would have been great. Just get 2,000 elevation. Here's another thing. Freaking, once you start getting in shape, do it when you're tired. So go do an hour workout, whatever that is, and then go do elevations, because that's what you really need to get used to. As far as preparation goes, other things that I did, I ate as clean as I could leading up to this week. I started to try to drink about 3/4 of a gallon of water probably about 3 weeks ago every day, which I did 75 hard, and that kind of became a normal thing for me to drink a lot of water. It's hard to drink a gallon a day. I got to be focused to do that. But this week leading up to it, I did drink a gallon every day. I didn't drink any alcohol, and I ate as clean as I possibly could. Just made sure I was putting good stuff in my body leading up to this week. I got a meal or two that had, some tasty stuff in it, and some stuff that probably wasn't as clean. But for the most part, my appetite was super clean. I'm not in the best shape of my life. I was a collegiate athlete and it was definitely incredible shape then. But I felt like I did a pretty good job of training and preparation, but I still needed, and eating, but I still needed so much more. So if you're not a, hiker that's consistently doing up in, elevations and long distances and whatnot, put in the miles. I promise it'll be worth it. You can walk a mile in 20 minutes, so if you get your gear or, get 25 pounds or whatever and can just walk a mile around your neighborhood, 20 miles every night or so, I think that'll be great. Elevation or incline's the biggest thing. Trying to get, like what I kept trying to do was I kept trying to like get 2,000 feet in 2 miles. So I can't remember what I had to set the incline at to do that. But I think that was good. Or, just stair stepping, 2,000 feet as well is good. Declines, man, learn to walk declines with your trekking poles, just down paved roads, but then also through if you can go down some trails and have some rocks and stuff that you have to move around. I would highly advise getting some training in with trekking poles. Found some shade on the switchbacks. So right now, I can't remember what time I said it was, but it's like 10:30ish. So the switchbacks, like there's parts that have shade and don't have shade. So that's nice, but still wish I would have left earlier to completely avoid the sun. Would have just made the whole trip a lot easier and brought more water. Okay, 2 more things on preparing that I didn't talk about. I would definitely set up all your stuff before you get here. Practice your tent, figure out your water filtration system, figure out how to roll up your mattresses, figure out how to tiny knots you need to tie for your tent. Study all that. You don't want to find that out at the campground. You also don't want to be rolling your stuff up for the first time in the middle of the night. So practice that. And also, I would advise you to freaking full on sleep outside in it. Go sleep in your backyard. And just have an experience out there. Don't, like, for an hour, like literally go spend a whole night out there and be like, okay, what kind of rest am I going to get? Or if you're gonna do a hammock, do that. That's really what I wish I would have done. I wish I would have, gone camping with a hammock somewhere around, where I live, and seen what my rest was like, because would have liked it because it would have had more air coming in. And it would have been lighter to pack because I wouldn't have had, a tent and all the other stuff that you need with it. Last thing as far as preparation is sleep. So definitely probably the 4 or 5 days leading up to it, I really made sure I got really good sleep. And then I started going to sleep earlier because I knew I was going to have to wake up so early to do the trails. So for me, it kind of worked out because I'm Central Time Zone. And so this is 2 hours different. So like, when we woke up at 2:30 here, that was technically only waking up at 4:30, Central Time. For the West Coast, it's really tough because it gets even earlier. But I knew that we were going to be waking up at 2:30 on day one and driving in an hour and a half and then getting on the trail. So I actually went to bed at 10 p.m. 2 nights before and got my full 8 hours of sleep and woke up at 6. And then the last night, I actually went to bed. I tried to go to bed at 8. I probably didn't fall asleep until like 8:45 or 9. And then I actually woke up at 5. So I was very adjusted. And then I'm going to go over this more when we talk about experience, or the whole experience. But really what I learned is we stayed on that time schedule for the first 2 days for the most part. And then we used it again for this last day. Day 3 kind of threw us off just because we needed to sleep and get rest because day 2 was so hard. But that was just another thing to do on preparation.